credits, also financing, how Africa will sit on the table and find solutions moving forward. We've also seen the civil society saying there is need to have conversations touching on people on the table, with others going on the streets also saying that the entire exercise has been hijacked. But now, let's cross over and listen in to the head of state as he addresses that meeting.
Can be achieved working together. We are here to launch high-level policy documents, and we are doing it deliberately in this. A continental event can also be cascaded to the ward in Kenya. And we are here as leadership, and I'm very encouraged that this event will resonate very well with what we are doing in this occasion. We are launching high-level policy documents which set out Kenya's long-term vision, extending all the way to 2050, along with the country's medium-term plan for 2027. Additionally, we will unveil grants designed to finance adaptation activities at scale from the level of the county ward throughout the country over the next 1 year. This is perfectly consistent with the government's commitment to incorporate our nationally determined contribution targets, as well as the identification of climate risks and adaptation measures into planning, decision-making, and implementation phases of programs and strategies at every level and in every sector. The documents we are about to launch outline Kenya's ambition to implement a low-carbon and climate-resilient development strategy pathway. To begin with, the long-term low-emissions carbon development strategy provides the salient actions intended to enable the country undertake comprehensive decarbonization of economic activity and achieve resilience to the adverse impacts of climate change by 2050. Secondly, the National Climate Change Action Plan 2023-2027 maps out in detail the sequence of clear and measurable actions that form the implementation pathway towards the attainment of the long-term low-carbon emission development strategy. For its part, the Climate Change Amendment Act 2023, and I want to celebrate many Kenyans who made their inputs towards the achievement of this act, and to celebrate also our two houses of parliament for expeditiously discharging their responsibility in enacting this piece of legislation. This legislation will establish the necessary institutional framework to rally stakeholders towards the achievement of national climate action objectives. It is noteworthy that the primary thrust of the amendment is to provide the exploration of the full potential of carbon markets in Kenya in order to access adequate financing for effective climate action. An overarching goal of the National Climate Action Plan is to align climate action in Kenya with the government's development agenda as articulated in the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, as well as Vision 2030. Effective climate change action in Kenya remains hampered by serious resource constraints, a challenge we share with other developing nations. To put matters in context, the implementation of our updated NDCs require, as was said earlier, $62 billion. To access this level of funding, it is critical for us to collaborate with a broad coalition of stakeholders, led by development partners, in implementing various projects and programs. And I want to, in a very special way, on behalf of government and people of Kenya, thank our development partners that have spoken here and those who have not, for being great partners of the Republic of Kenya. I promise you they deserve a better round of applause. Thank you. That's so little for us to do for the so much they have done for us. One such program is the Financing Locally Led Climate Action, which we call FLOCA, which is dedicated to supporting the delivery of locally led climate action by strengthening the capacity of county and national governments to manage climate risk from the bottom. The FLOCA program design provides a bold and innovative bottom-up decentralization of climate financing as well as decision-making, thereby empowering the lowest units, which are the grassroots level communities in each of Kenya's 1,450 wards. These committees will take charge of the process of identification, planning, and implementation of climate action based on existing climate risk and existing local knowledge. Rallying call of this summit, it also reprofiles communities as agents of change. Climate action and resilience building are not mere victims of climate change. Further, it provides a framework for ready access to local and traditional knowledge and practices used by communities to survive and thrive in the midst of constant change and crisis. The achievements of the program so far include the establishment of fundamental climate action institutions in counties, including county climate change legislation, a robust network that is already built on existing institutions to avoid any duplication. Another commendable achievement under the FLOCA is the development of county climate change action plans through inclusive and through participatory climate risk assessments at the community level. Additionally, the government under FLOCA has transferred nearly $7 million, about R1 billion shillings, to counties to support county institutional reform and county-level participatory climate risk assessments. This support has borne fruit and pointed us in a highly encouraging direction towards progress in climate action. As a result, I will today count formal climate investment grants, which together with the Kenya shillings 3 billion, about $20 million of county-owned resource allocations, will finance local climate action priorities in agriculture, water, and national resource management in every county, cascaded to every ward. I very sincerely thank our governors for their support of the program, which has made it easier for us to achieve so much progress in such a very short time. In the same vein, I encourage them to go further and offer more robust support for our efforts to grow 15 billion trees over the next decade in order to achieve a national tree cover of 30% by the year 2032. I commend the effective collaboration between the Ministries of National Treasury and Planning and Environment and Climate Change and Forestry with the Council of Governors, which have facilitated the implementation of FLOCA, recognize the significant support that has come from the World Bank, the governments of Germany, Sweden, Denmark, and Netherlands, and encourage more development partners to come on board. It should go without saying that the government remains fully committed to ensuring that funds mobilized under these and other programs are fully utilized for the intended purposes and in the intended manner, and that we shall remain vigilant, and I dare say ruthless, against any malpractice. Munajua mambo ni matatu. effective partnership. As a prelude to drive green industrialization is the future of economic growth as we see it from Kenya. In turn, this requires us to channel adequate financial resources through investment and to adopt and implement appropriate technologies and innovations in order to unleash the full potential of our clean and green natural resource endowments. At the continental level, this applies on an even greater magnitude in terms of achieving economic transformation, and on a commensurate scale, the immensity of our natural resource endowments remains an innate heritage. Africa is not poor. Africa is rich. Our continent is abundantly endowed with mineral and natural resource wealth, and the time has come for us to forge a path that factors in it fully into strategies to unlock an African future of prosperity, industrialization, and manufacturing. This is why African leadership is rising to the moment to form a united front and forge collaborations aimed at bringing African solutions to global changes. Today, we take the first step by forming the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa, where we will share expertise, experience, and innovations to accelerate the progress of our efforts to unlock our tremendous renewable potential to transform our economies. As a body of peers, the Accelerated Partnership for Renewable Energy in Africa, APRA, will rely on sharing, collaboration, and mutual reinforcement, as well as the power of partnership to enhance our capacity, empower the youth, and attract investment. Under APRA, I look forward to interacting closely with leaders from Sierra Leone, and my brother is here, Ethiopia, Namibia, Rwanda, and Zimbabwe, and to rely on their support to keep our partnership sharp and focused. I thank Denmark. Please give a round of applause to Denmark. I thank Germany. Please give a round of applause to Germany. The United Arab Emirates for their steadfast support since the inception of APRA as an idea. I take this opportunity to encourage the International Renewable Energy Agency, and I saw the CEO around, to enhance its support and hasten the deployment of renewables worldwide, and to empower APRA participants individually and collectively. In APRA, we must see more than an impressive and an ambitious coalition pursuing a transformative idea, to appreciate the inclusive and dynamic ecosystem that brings together governments, the private sector, philanthropies, civil society, and other international allies. Today, we gather to celebrate a new dawn with the launch of the Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa. Tomorrow, we shall undertake through determined endeavor the work of writing a new chapter in the account of global transformation, record and express this new moment of Africa-led green industrial revolution. In short, I have said we are doing 4 things that are interconnected. Number 1, we are launching the strategy. Number 2, we are launching the plan. Number 3, we are celebrating the law that we have passed. And number 4, we are giving out money. So this whole story is about those 4 things. And of course, the APRA, which we are launching to share our experiences. Every other time I stand on a podium and say, Kenya's grid is 92% renewable, people raise their eyebrows. They think it is not a reality. We want to tell the world it's possible to power your development, your industrialization using green energy. And that's the experience we intend to share with other friends across the continent. And let me just say one or two things about the items I have listed. The strategy is important because it localizes what we are doing. The plan is important because it measures what we are doing. And the law, helps us to do three things. When I signed the bill into law on Friday, just 4 days ago, three things were top on my mind. Number one, it gave us an opportunity to make the Climate Council youth-friendly. It brought young people into the discussion table. Young people are the greatest stakeholders of the future. Number two, it made it possible for communities to monetize their actions. That communities going forward, there will be a framework for them to share in the benefits that come from climate action. And number three, it made it possible for us to have a legal regime that we can protect our assets and we can have government to government, private sector to private sector in an ecosystem where legislation underpins undertaking to avoid any challenges that we have seen in the carbon market space. I did promise when we were in Sharm el-Sheikh that we are going to take the lead. Today, Kenya has taken the lead as the country that has the most activity in the carbon market space. We intend to take that lead even further by providing the legislation that will enable us do that. And two more things, just to contextualize what we are having here with the Africa Climate Summit. There are two fundamental issues here. Number one is the power of opportunity. Yes, we are suffering the effects of climate change. Yes, every village and every community is undergoing stress by drought, by other intervention, other mechanisms. But we are looking at the opportunity. That's why we are investing. The same way we are saying in this Africa Climate Summit, in this climate change crisis, there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is that we have opportunity to unlock the renewable assets available in our continent, whether they are minerals, whether they are energy, whether it is our young people, whether it is through smart agriculture, our arable land resources. We have an opportunity to turn the climate crisis into an opportunity for our continent. The same way we will want to do in every village in Kenya. And number two, the same way we are having a conversation in this summit about finance is the same way we are discussing money going to counties and going to every village. So it's a mirror of what we are doing at the Africa Climate Summit so that everybody begins to realize that this conversation is not an abstract conversation. This is a real conversation about real issues, real people, real situations, and real opportunities. So we are having that conversation about financing the same way we are having a conversation about how are we going to finance climate action? How are we going to raise the resources to unlock the potential in renewable energy, the potential in green minerals, the potential in the global workforce that is the African population, the potential in 2/3 of the world's arable land being in this continent? How do we unlock that? We need resources. And we are making concrete proposals on how we can do that. We can use SDRs, we can use the balance sheet of the MDBs, we can discuss carbon tax And we are going to be making very concrete proposals on how to raise that money. The same way we are having a concrete discussion here about the partners that are working with us to raise the resources that will go to the counties. One final request I want to make to my governors. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, whenever there is money for you, I do my very best to release that money. You are witnesses, even if you don't want to agree. Right? But now I have another problem, because many people are telling me now, you're spoiling governors with a lot of money. Because, as I talk to you, there is 50 billion Kenya shillings lying at the central bank. My request to you is, please spend this money. I mean, if you spend this money, we will have many Kenyans who are either suppliers or programs roll out, and now I am going to add you more money. So my request to you is, let us make sure that we roll out our programs, we spend these resources. It's good for our economy, and it makes me also collect more tax so that I can do what I have to do. So that is my request to you, because as I push the people in Treasury, they normally remind me, tell your colleagues to spend the money. We are spending too much money guarding it at the central bank. So please, if we can all do that, it will be very good. I wish I was in your situation where somebody is telling me spend money. So let me say again, when I had a conversation with the Council of Governors on this subject, and the chair and her team came to see me, we were very clear on what we need to achieve. And I am very happy that in the backdrop of this Africa Climate Summit, we are rolling out our own Kenya Summit that takes these resources to the lowest level possible. Thank you very much. Let me ask, on behalf of all of us, my brother, the President of Sierra Leone, Julius Bayo, to just make some small comments. I know I didn't prepare him that he was going to make any comment, but let me request him to close this for us, make some comments, because we have a journey to travel with him as we build the coalition that will bring renewable energy intervention into our continent. My brother, Mr. President, welcome.
Your Excellency and dear brother, I'm here to support you for a great initiative, and we are proud of you and Kenya, and we will support you fully. Without much ado, I want to congratulate you, my brother and friend, President Ruto, for successfully launching this innovative initiative. This is a great example of a homegrown solution to global problems. When the world creates a mess, we have to find a way at home to solve them. No excuses, because we are an integral part of the world. We all know how much climate change is impacting and ravaging our communities in several respects that I don't need to even mention here today. I do not doubt that the financing locally led climate action program will benefit millions of Kenyans and lay a solid foundation for robust climate adaptation efforts over the next decade. And this is where I will appeal, as we all look at this initiative as an example that Kenyans take this seriously, because we want to follow, but it depends on how well it is going to work here. We hope our development partners, who have done so well in supporting Kenya, will also support other African nations. Across our continent, we are experiencing definitely a heart-wrenching tales from increased storm surges, especially in Sierra Leone, flash floods, drought, high winds that are accompanied by pollution, landslide, mudslide, as we experienced some years ago. For us in Sierra Leone, these are not merely stories, but stern warnings. We are at a crossroad in making tangible decisions to move from policy statements to taking concrete action to combat this global menace of climate change. Transformative actions taken by the Kenyan government to reduce community-led vulnerability and build resilience to climate change impacts through the FLOCA initiative is a laudable step from policy to action. Sierra Leone is among 20 of the most vulnerable nations in the world to the effects of climate change. The impact of climate change is real for us, and we continue to experience all the things that I've spoken about: biodiversity loss, deforestation, coastal erosion, mudslides, etc. In Sierra Leone, if we do not act on time, we definitely lose valuable ecosystems and its attendant problems of displacement of people and also loss of livelihood. My government recognizes the threat posed by climate change and has taken necessary steps and actions to minimize the potential for further damage. Our actions in Sierra Leone respond directly to the overall objective of the UNFCCC's National Adaptation Plan guidelines for reducing vulnerability to the impacts of climate change by building adaptive capacity and resilience of the country and facilitating the integration of climate adaptation into relevant existing and new policies, programs, and activities. Our initial NAP also gives guidance and provides information on action to reduce climate change vulnerability regarding water resources, agriculture, and food security, public health, coastal zones, and communities across the country. We are implementing a coordination and reporting mechanism for all climate-related activities and projects of government, ministries, departments, and agencies to facilitate and coordinate the country's climate change programs and projects to be developed in line with national programs and the SDGs and outcomes derived from the UNFCCC process. The range of adaptation options has been well defined through systematic and bottom-up national level consultative processes. The process has been a significant achievement in raising awareness, building technical and institutional capacities, and integrating adaptation concerns into national development dialogues. I look forward to bilateral South-South cooperation with our friends in Kenya to undertake the necessary assessments and formulation of a similar program in the near future. I'm already following in your footsteps. So make sure you step properly so I know where to step after you. We hope our donor partners will be encouraged to support this learning model among African nations. Such cooperation could shorten the time for design of various programs. It could also help countries move faster in developing bankable projects to crowd in more significant private investment flows. Thank you.
Some assignment to do there. Let me just put in a good word for my brother, President of Sierra Leone, and ask our partners to be as generous when they come calling. And I promise you, my brother, that I will steady the steps so that you know where surely to step. And to thank you very much for that. Let me also recognize my good elder brother, Nangolo Mbumba, the Vice President of Namibia, representing my good friend. Thank you very much for hosting me